Welcome back, everyone. Have you ever stared down a massive, super complex maintenance project and just thought, man, how on earth are we going to get this done on time without the whole thing falling apart? Well, you are in exactly the right place today. In this explainer, we're diving into what is literally the ultimate tool to cure maintenance chaos. It's called the critical path method, or CPM for short. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. It is the absolute gold standard that industry pros use to save huge amounts of time and, frankly, an incredible amount of money when dealing with facility maintenance. So let's get right into it. Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start by defining the critical path method. Then we'll walk through a real-world example with pump system maintenance. After that, we'll break down the 7 steps to actually implement it. See how this scales up to massive power plants, and wrap up with the ultimate maintenance advantage.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, Defining the Critical Path Method.
You know, in heavy industry, just a single hour of unplanned downtime can easily cost upwards of $100,000. No joke, $100,000. That staggering number is exactly why this stuff matters so much. So what is it? The critical path method is basically a scheduling technique used to identify the specific sequence of activities that dictates the minimum time required to finish a maintenance project. I really want to emphasize those 2 words, minimum time. CPM is all about calculating the absolute fastest, most efficient route to get operations safely back online before those downtime costs completely spiral out of control.
But to really wrap our heads around the critical path, we first have to talk about float, which you might also hear called slack. Float is essentially the project's breathing room. It's the amount of time a specific activity can be delayed without actually delaying the whole project. The critical path, though, that consists exclusively of activities with 0 float. It's the unforgiving spine of the project. Once you're on this path, every single second counts. If a 0 float activity gets delayed by just 1 hour, well, your entire project completion time is delayed by exactly 1 hour. No way around it.
Let's look at how this plays out across the lifespan of a general work order. It all starts with the initial maintenance request on day 1. Day 2 is all about planning and getting your activities listed out, and then day 3 is where the magic happens. That's when we actually create our CPM network. Days 4 through 6 are the main event, the rapid execution of the maintenance itself, which leads us straight into day 7 for final testing and commissioning. So you see, CPM isn't just for the wrench-turning phase. It really dictates the momentum of the entire process, from the second a problem is reported to the moment the system is certified and running again. Moving on to Section 2. Let's look at a concrete example, pump system maintenance. Okay, abstract theory is great and all, but let's ground this in a real-world scenario to see exactly how these dependencies work. What's really interesting here is the incredibly strict order of operations. We've got a list of activities, A through I, for maintaining a pump. We have their expected durations in hours, and crucially, we have a predecessor list. You can't just pick a random task and start. Take a look at activity D, remove pump. Its predecessors are B and C. That means you physically cannot remove that pump until you've removed the coupling and disconnected the piping. Every single task is totally interlocked. Now, when you map all those dependencies out, you reveal the actual critical path for this pump system. In this specific case, it runs from activity A to C, D, E, G, H, and finally I. Notice anything missing? Yep, activities B and F aren't on this list. That's because they have a little bit of that float, that breathing room we talked about earlier. But this main sequence right here, these are your 0 float activities. This path allows absolutely no room for error. If you tally up the hours for that specific 0 float sequence, you hit exactly 16. So, 16 hours is the total duration of the critical path. That means the absolute bare minimum time required to complete this pump maintenance is 16 hours. Let's say the bearing inspection, activity E, takes 3 hours instead of 2. Well, your entire completion clock now automatically shifts to 17 hours. There's just no hiding a delay when it happens on the critical path.
Let's move to Section 3 and see how this all builds together with the 7 steps.
So how do we actually build this out in a real facility? It all starts with Phase 1, planning. Step 1 is defining the exact maintenance scope. I mean, are we completely overhauling a motor or just cleaning out a heat exchanger? Step 2 is developing the work breakdown structure, basically taking a massive, overwhelming job and breaking it down into manageable pieces like isolation, lockout/tagout, and dismantling. Step 3 is estimating realistic durations based on past records, how experienced your technicians are, and spare part availability. And step 4, like we just saw with the pump, is defining those strict activity dependencies. Because let's be real, you definitely can't assemble a pump before you've inspected its bearings.
Once your planning is locked in tight, you move right into phase 2, execution. This starts with creating the actual CPM network diagram so you can visually see the flow of work. Then, and this is a big one, you must allocate resources. You've got to make absolutely sure that your technicians, your lifting equipment, and all your spare parts are ready and waiting before anyone even picks up a tool. Finally, you execute and monitor. This means you're tracking daily progress against the schedule, laser focusing your manpower on those critical path activities, and jumping on any delays immediately as they pop up.
Actually, creating that network diagram does involve some specific mathematical calculations. You're looking at things like the earliest start and earliest finish times for each task, along with the latest start and latest finish times. By comparing these numbers, you figure out the float for each activity. Now, I know we're getting a little bit into the weeds here, but remember, finding exactly where that float mathematically equals 0 is the entire goal. That calculation literally draws the map for your whole maintenance team.
All right, Section 4. Let's scale this up to power plants.
I want you to picture the epic climax of industrial maintenance, a planned outage at a nuclear power plant. The stakes literally couldn't be any higher. You're trying to coordinate mechanical groups, electrical teams, instrumentation experts, and radiation protection units all at once. You have to safely navigate a reactor shutdown, secure super strict radiation clearances, execute massive motor overhauls, and run incredibly complex startup testing. In a high-stakes environment like that, CPM isn't just a helpful suggestion, it is absolutely mandatory. It's the only way to minimize the outage duration while keeping safety and quality standards completely non-negotiable.
Of course, nobody is out there calculating a thousands of steps nuclear outage on a chalkboard. While the underlying logic is mathematically rigorous, we have powerful software tools to do the heavy lifting for modern maintenance managers. The heavy hitters in the industry include Microsoft Project, Primavera P6, and Oracle Primavera Cloud. And you know what? Even good old Microsoft Excel is heavily utilized for smaller, more localized maintenance jobs. The tool itself might change based on the project size, but that core CPM logic, it remains exactly identical.
And that brings us to Section 5, the ultimate maintenance advantage. So, what does this all mean for you? The crucial takeaway is this. CPM transforms total chaos into a controlled, predictable science. It drastically cuts down on crazy expensive equipment downtime, and it makes sure nobody is just standing around waiting for a previous task to finish. It pinpoints exactly which activities are critical, so you know precisely where to put your best technicians. Plus, it completely bridges that coordination gap between your mechanical and electrical departments. Ultimately, it's all about maintaining strict cost control and ensuring a much safer execution across the board. I want to leave you with this single, powerful thought. Are you managing your maintenance, or is it managing you? When you start implementing the critical path method, you stop just reacting to emergencies, and you start proactively controlling your operational destiny. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this gives you the tools you need to take complete control of your maintenance workflows, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Critical path method identifies the longest sequence of critical activities, helping engineers optimize maintenance schedules, reduce downtime, and complete projects on time.